Okay, hello, we should be able to hear sound. Oh no, that horrible noise again. Is that me or you, Laura? Okay, anyway, welcome painters. Hello, how are you? Really nice day today, isn't it? Hope you've had a nice morning. We are back and we are painting The Tree of Life by Klimt. Laura is here to take it step by step with you. Okay, that noise is sorted out. Thanks, Laura. So you probably know our intro by heart by now surely, but for those who are new, let me just say that this is not an art class. This is not a video tutorial. This is live, which means anything can happen, as we very well know with sound. So don't take it too seriously. Just enjoy the process. Nobody here needs to be the best at creating the painting. You know, just relax and have fun with it. Have a really good play. This is really playful. There's loads of branches that are swirly, and you know, there's a lot of detail that can be placed on it. What is that? Okay. What else is there for me to say? Laura's gonna be using acrylic paint. If you have that, that's fabulous, but do not worry. Alternative materials is absolutely fine. You can use felt tips, crayons, office stationery, highlights, coffee, tea, wine, you know, put that style little motto, wine glass in one hand. There we go, paintbrush in the other. Laura has a tea and something else. I forgot what you said you had. So just enjoy let us know what you're using so that we can help you ask questions throughout, so we can definitely help you with anything that you want to know throughout. We're going to be here for roughly under an hour. It's a bite-sized kind of version. So Laura will take you through, not quickly, but you know, enough at a pace that will fill the hour. So feel free, if you're not following along, you can't keep up, just pause the video, do the steps, and then press play again. You can always catch up, and as well, this video is going to be left on YouTube. So what else? Oh yes, and some fabulous news we all have for you. We have our online events. Our pop-up painting online party has gone live, so check the website out. It's popuppainting.com/online-parties, something like that. Just go to popuppainting.com, you'll be able to find them. Why am I telling you this? Well, because they're fully interactive. You'll be with me or Laura or me and George or other members of our team. We've got some people from Manchester joining in with this, which is absolutely great. Step by step for just a little under 2 hours. So they're going to be a very fun online experience that's close to our original events as we can get to them, and as well as you'll be treated to our lovely themed pop-up painting playlist, which we get many compliments at. So come along, grab your tickets. We've just added 2 more events onto our website as well, so go and check those out after we've all done this. You can come along, get your friends involved, get your family involved, alternatively come by yourself. We're very friendly. You probably got to know me and Laura and George by the lives by now. We will, you know, chat for 2 hours or so, and it's going to be chill, it's going to be fun, it's going to be a really good laugh. Alternatively, come along and just meet new people. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to hand over to Laura, and I'm going to leave Instagram so that buzzing doesn't come back. Okay, bye Instagram, have a lot of fun, see you later. Leave, done, that's done. Handing over to you, Laura. You might need to say that again.
It's all right. I just muted myself as you unmuted me, and we all sorts of muting going on.
Right. Okay. I'm hiding myself. Bye. Have fun. Ask questions, guys.
Yes, please do. All right. As Annie said, I think, because I had to turn the sound right down to stop that squeaking, I'm going to take you through a section of Klimt's Tree of Life. Now, this is part of an absolutely huge painting that he did. Ironically, the only painting he ever did in landscape, and we're going to do a little version in portrait. So you don't have to worry about adding this much detail, because as always, we are going to be just putting the basics down so that you can carry on after the video, you can carry on later, add as much detail as you want. Now, this tree is very symbolic, and you can make this your own. You don't have to add the exact symbols that are on the original. You don't have to add the same ones that I'm going to add. You can add your own symbols when we get to that bit. But for now, we're going to start nice and easy. I'm going to show you what I've got first of all. So if you are joining in with acrylic paint, I have got the usual palette of black, yellow, red, blue, and white. If you happen to have some gold paint, fabulous. If not, don't you worry. We're keeping it simple. You can always get some gold paint and add it on later. I have got a napkin slash kitchen roll slash toilet roll, whatever you've got going on. That's going to help me dry off my brushes and take off any excess paint. And also a pot of water for cleaning my brushes in. Try not to drink this one. It won't kill you. It just won't taste very nice once you've mixed some paint into it. I have 3 different brushes. I have the large brush or the big brush. This is a flat brush. As you can see, it's large and it's flat. So I've got 2 different cameras that I've got to point the brush at, flattish. That's one I'm going to be using for most of my background. I've then got what I will call the medium brush. This is a medium-sized round-tipped brush, medium and round. There you go. And the small brush for adding the tiny little details. There we go. So that is everything that I have got. And of course, it's a gin and tonic today, Annie. So are we all ready and raring to go? I hope so. I'm going to try and take you through. I'm going to be using acrylic paint, obviously, but I'll try and point out any different things you might want to do if you're using different little tips at home. Okay, so, ooh, how exciting. What I'm going to do is grab my big brush. I'm going to swirl it around in my water, because the tip with this, if you're using acrylic, we want to make the background spread as thin as physically possible so that it dries as quickly as we can. So mixing lots and lots of water into your yellow paint, and we're just going to slap it all over the background. Nice and simple. Like I said, very simplified version of this painting. If you are using something else like felt tip pens, you should be all right to colour in yellow and then do your brown over the top, but you might want to start marking out your tree and then colouring in around it with certain materials. You might have to experiment a little bit to see if you can colour over yellow. So do a little patch test and then see if you can do your brown over the top. But we are going to add some white shapes as well. So you might wish to outline your tree. Ooh. Your brown over the top. You've started talking, Annie. Add some white shapes
oh, well. That's you. Sorry.
I'm talking through you. How very strange. All right, so we are just going to get water into our yellow paint and we're going to start covering the whole background. Remember to spread it as thin as you can to make your life easier a little bit later on. It is ironic, isn't it, that the more water you add, the quicker it dries. Acrylic paint, so crazy, so crazy. So we're literally going to slap this all over the entire canvas. I'm trying very carefully not to flick it all over my laptop again, but I'm not very good at that. I'm a very, very messy painter. Woo. And if you do need to have a look at the original, so if you are using something different and you're going to start marking out your tree, remember to check out the website, popuppainting.com/live, and you'll be able to find, oh, I've just flicked it in my face, the original version that we are working from, a little reference point, and you'll be able to copy the shapes roughly. But remember with this, you don't have to get any of the shapes exactly right. This is all a very expressive painting. It's all very symbolic. So you can make this very much about you.
Laura, are you able to hold up the one that you have printed just for a few seconds?
I can indeed. There we go. This is it. So it's basically one large trunk and with all loads and loads of swirly bits. So you can go crazy with the swirls, doing them in all sorts of different directions. So some are bigger, some are smaller. You've got some tiny ones and some just disappearing off the edge. So as long as you've got one big thick trunk in the middle and lots of swirls going off from it, you can't go wrong with this painting. That's what I love about it. Very simple in that respect. But do remember as well that we are going to be doing this under an hour, and these videos will be available for you to look at online. So on Instagram, these will be on our stories for the next 24 hours, or it will be up on YouTube for the time being, for however long we keep it up there. So you can always take this at your own pace. If you are on YouTube, I believe you can pause me, make me stop. I won't be offended. I mean, apart from anything I won't really know. And then you can take your time with it. So for now, we are just covering the background in yellow, or you're marking out your tree if you're thinking that you're not going to be able to go over the top of your colours with whatever you're using. Have a bit of a play, have a bit of an experiment. I am making a real mess over here. My mum's going to be having a heart attack about the state of her table after this. Whoop. All right. So we have now got a nice yellow background, hopefully. Or whatever colour background you happen to want. Remember, this is all me guiding you through, but at any stage you can change it up. If you've decided that you're going to hang it in your bedroom this week, I think you might want to go for a red background or a pink background. Green, I don't know what your boudoir looks like. You make it work for you. Okay, so we have got a nice yellow background over here. Fabulous. And what we're going to do next is we're going to add our tree on top. So what I'm going to do now is pick up my medium brush. Ooh. And I'm going to pick up my paint palette. There we go. And I'm going to mix up a brown. Now you'll see this brown is quite a light brown, but you might want to do a slightly darker brown. That's up to you. Or you might want to go for something totally different and make a black tree. You might want to go for a dark blue tree, red tree. I don't mind. But we're going to mix up a brown. And the fun thing about brown is it's really easy to make when you're not trying to make brown. But then when you're trying to make brown, it's really hard to make brown. How many times can I say brown before it gets weird? All right, so we are going to make an orange first of all using yellow and red. We're going to mix those together. And then we are going to add in some blue. And this is going to be a bit of a balance. You're going to have to keep adding little bits here, there, and everywhere. Remember, you can always add more, you can't take it away. So I'd separate it if you can. So you're going to keep adding yellow, red, and blue until you come up with a colour that is brown, or as close to brown as you can find. That's a very red brown now, but that is fine. Whatever colour you come up with, rather, is the colour you're supposed to have, because you're not comparing it to anyone else, so that's fine. And I'm also going to add a tiny bit of white into it just to make it a slightly lighter brown than it is. And then, of course, I'm going to add lots of water into it so that it's going to spread nice and easily. Don't panic if you're not happy with your colour, because we're going to put loads of stuff over the top of it anyway, so it is not a problem. Let's have a look at the original version again. So what we're going to do now, we're going to add a big trunk coming up the middle. It's going to come about a third from the top, and then we're going to start adding swirls all over the place. And I'm not going to worry about making them exactly the same. This is where you get to get really creative. So as with a trunk, it's going to be slightly thicker at the bottom and get a little bit thinner at the top. So we're going to come up the middle of our canvas roughly to about a third from the top. Don't worry about making these lines perfectly straight. No tree is perfectly straight. So it's coming up. We need to leave a bit of space in the middle that we can add our colours on top of. I'm going to fill it in as I go because we want this to dry fairly quickly as well. So remember, if you are using acrylic paint, to spread it as thin as you can. And the beauty of doing this over the yellow is that you've got yellow in your paint anyway. So if it blends in a little bit, it won't matter at all. So we've got our big thick trunk in the middle. There we go. And we're spreading it as thin as we can. And then we're going to start adding our swirls. So we've got one big one. I'm going to do a line that goes all the way off the top over in this direction. That's going to be my first little swirl, but it's going to disappear. Remember, you don't have to do your swirls exactly the same as mine. You can go totally crazy with this. If you look at the original, there's some really big ones, some smaller ones, and they're all going in different directions. So that's all you've got to remember. It's just to keep varying it up. Big ones, small ones, and different directions. And you can do as many or as few as you like. You might decide you just want 2 big swirls on either side, and that's what you're going with. I will not judge. So I'm going to go for one big one here. Remember, we've got quite a lot to do in an hour if you're keeping up with the time. But if not, you can always pause or come back to the video on YouTube or Instagram later. There we go. I've got one big swirl here. And we're just going to have a bit of fun now, slapping those swirls on. Remember, if you've got lost at any point, you can always pop a little comment in the comment box. Annie will be there to help you out. And we're just going to have a bit of fun now. This is really satisfying, this bit, just putting loads and loads of swirls on. Remember, it needs to disappear off of the top as well. It doesn't have to be swirls all the way, just lines in different directions. And keep adding water and spreading your paint as thin as you can so that we can colour in on top of it. Okay. Ooh, beautiful. Is anyone lost or any comments, or is everyone really concentrating today, Annie?
No, I think everybody's really happy to get on with this, Laura. They're really listening and following your instructions. You're doing an awesome job.
Oh, I love it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's very nice to hear. Ooh, that one went a bit squiffy, but I don't know why I love the word squiffy. I don't know where this has come from. I don't think I've ever used it in my life until I started doing lives. Very strange, but that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to add lots and lots of swirls in lots of different directions. Big ones, small ones. You can always grab your little brush if you're more comfortable adding the smaller swirls with your smaller brush. Or you can just press a little bit lighter with your medium-sized brush. That's what I love about this painting. It comes out really different every time you do it. Remember to keep them going in all sorts of different directions. Really have a bit of fun with it. Make it disappear off the top. You can connect some lines in between. Just really enjoy slapping a bit of paint on. Very technical. Ooh.
Absolutely, Laura. This is a very, very good painting to play with. The consistency of the swirls don't have to be accurate to the original at all. Just go with the swirl. Put your paint on the brush, put the brush on the canvas and just swirl it along. It doesn't have to look like a branch because Klimt's tree definitely doesn't look like a tree. We're not going for realism here, okay? Just do a swirl, do a swirly line, and you basically got a Klimt picture already. So keep going. Laura's still adding all that swirl on at the moment. We're probably going to need to let the tree dry and then move on to the bottom parts of the painting. As Laura has said, if you're still doing the branch or your background or something like that and you've not got as much branches on
something about a tree.
Laura's why have I stuck talking? Oh, as much as Laura's painting so far, you can pause the video and don't worry when you get to that point, the video isn't stuck. I just couldn't speak and get my words out. And over back to you, Laura.
Just testing everyone. You can see on our little original as well, every now and again there are these, I always call them seeing eye thingies, very technical. They're little symbols that represent an eye. This is all very much about connection to the earth, life, death, feminine, masculine, but you can make this symbolic to whatever you want to do. You might just want to do hearts and flowers, cute, or make it into a rainbow tree, put a unicorn in your tree. Who doesn't love a unicorn? Best animal in the world. And you can always add these little extra bits flicking off. I've added a few, one here. I say a few, I've added one. That you can pop your little eyes onto later. But don't worry about that. You can always have floating eyeballs. So I'm going to stick with that because I'm quite happy with how that looks at the moment. I think it's very swirly. That will do me nicely. So what I'm going to do now is start marking out the little shapes at the bottom. So Instagram, you will be backwards. Up until this point, it's not really mattered because you're just adding swirls here, there and everywhere in whatever direction you fancy. Big ones, small ones, in all sorts of directions. But I'm going to now pick up my little brush. Ooh, this never comes out to play this early. And I'm just going to mark out these sections at the bottom. Now this is either the earth, it's either the grass, it could be a flower bed or a shadow. Who knows exactly what was in Klimt's head? We don't. But we're just going to mark out the outside of it. So I'm using that same brown just to do an outline with my tiny little brush. And it's going to come from the edge of the canvas and it's going to cross behind the tree and come down in a little curve over here. So that's the first shape. Don't forget to add water if you're using acrylic or it won't flow. I'll take my own advice on that one. All right, so we're along there. We've got this little shape here. This is the start of our shadow / flower bed type thing. We've then got another one that comes from behind the tree. They're very circular flower beds. You might decide you don't want to do these. I'm calling it flower beds. I've decided it's a flower bed in my head. So you can imagine it would be an oval shape, but we're just marking out the edge that we're going to see. I'm still using that same brown. I'm just using my little brush at the moment. And then at the edge of this one over here is a little circular one. So I've gone for a long oval. It would have been a whole oval if you could see the whole thing. Another little oval that overlaps it, and another little circle at the end. You might decide you want to get very cubist with this and do triangles and squares. I do not mind at all. Then I'm just going to do a very rough line along the top to show where the edge of my ground is compared to the sky. Ooh. If it's not straight, don't worry. Clearly mine isn't. But what part of the ground is perfectly straight? I don't know. Although if you can draw a perfectly straight line without a ruler, I am very impressed. Very impressed indeed. Okay, so we're going to bring that all the way along, very rough. And this is the basis of our background now. This is where we need to let the tree dry as much as physically possible. So you can either sit here and blow on it, or you can just pick up your wine / tea or gin and tonic and have a little sip for a moment. Fabulous. Cheers. And then we'll think about what we're going to do next. Unless anyone has got lost, hopefully not. I can do a quick recap for anybody, just in case you've joined us a little bit late. Oh, I've just painted my hand brown. I'm a very messy artist. So I started with the background. I just put yellow paint absolutely everywhere. Then we mixed up a brown paint using red, yellow, and blue with a tiny bit of white in it. And then mixing some water in. Interesting. I'm not sure what people are seeing at the bottom, but I feel like a lot of you out there have got very dirty minds. I'm also a bit confused because I don't see it, and I have got a very dirty mind. The butternut squash I can get behind, yet that may have looked a little bit dirty. This, you're going to have to explain it to me, I'm afraid. DM me later, it'll be fine. Okay, so we mixed up the brown and we added swirls in each and every direction. Big ones, small ones, all over the shop, as many or as few as you like. It is your tree, after all. Oh, someone's just said they need to drink every time I say a word, but what word was that? I don't know. Let me know. I missed it. Oh, cheers. Oh, right, did I not? I didn't drink after I said cheers. Cheers. Cheers, Annie. Well done. So we've got our backgrounds on. We've added our little, whatever people are seeing, flower beds. I'm saying flower beds. I'm going with it. / shadows. And Craft Punk Design says we should drink after I say any word. Wow, you're hardcore. I like it. That is one heck of a drinking game. So we're now going to start adding some little bit of colour to our blobs at the bottom. Now you can add whatever colours you want. It's up to you. If you're making it look like a flower bed, this is the time that you just want to add whatever colours. I'm going to do a lot of dabs to start with. I'm going to start with the lightest colour as always. So I'm going to use white and then add a bit of blue and maybe some red to make it pink. And then we'll focus on the greens and the browns that we can see over here. We'll add more details on later once that's dry, but we're just going to slap a bit on for now. So I'm using my medium brush. I dipped it into my white paint, and all I'm going to do is lightly dab all over the flower bed. You want to make sure your brush is fairly clean, but if you get a little bit of the brown in it, do not worry at all, because we're going to mix lots of colours into it anyway. So you don't need it to be perfectly clean at all. So I've dabbed a bit of white, which isn't very easy to see on the camera, but I'm now going to dip just the tip of my brush into my dark blue paint. So I've just dipped the tip, just the tip. And I'm going to add a few light dabs within my white. You might want to smudge it a little bit, but this is up to you at this point. Don't worry about overlapping your brown bits either. We're just adding a bit of texture into the background. Yes. And while you've got the blue on your brush, you can start adding a few little dabs over on this side. This is going to look like a flower bed, so you can do it really rough. It doesn't have to be all the same texture, all the same size dabbings, and you don't even have to put your colours in the same place as I put them. All right, I'm now going to dip the tip once more into my red paint, very gently, and I'm going to add a little bit of that into this one over here. And if you smudge it into the white, it should make a nice little pink dab. And then we're just going to have a bit of fun filling in the bottom here. So I'm going to mix up a green. Here is my palette. There we go. So I'm going to take a bit of my yellow and add a tiny bit of my blue. We're going to add a bit more of my blue. Remember, when you're mixing colours, to always just play around, keep adding little bits until you end up with the colour you want, because the tiniest bit of paint can really change the colour quite dramatically. My Instagram camera is very different to my YouTube camera. There you go. So now I've got a bit of green. I'm going to add some more dabs. This is my favourite part. It's really relaxing. Adding lots and lots of dabs into my flower bed down at the bottom. And I'm leaving some gaps in between. I'm not worrying about making it look perfectly covered, because we're going to add some flowers in later on anyway. You can even use the brown that you used before. Add a bit of soil, dabs, dab soil. You can add a few dabs in the middle of your other dabs. Drink every time I say dab, dab. And here we go. Now, I don't want everyone to be very drunk by the end of this. Although we do say the more you drink, the better it looks. There's an excuse if ever I've heard one. So we have now got our nice yellow background. We've got our swirly base of our tree. We've got our flower beds at the bottom that I'm still not sure what people are seeing. And we've got some dab flowers, grass, soil, and all of the above. Or it's just a very colourful shadow. Who knows? So now I'm going to give my brush a really good rinse off in my water, not my gin and tonic, as quite often does happen. I've made a point of putting my gin and tonic over there so that I can't actually reach it with my paintbrush. Clever. These are the tips you really need from your artist, isn't it? How not to end up drinking your paint water. Again, not toxic, won't kill you, just really doesn't taste good. Trust me, trust me. Remember to use your napkin as well to clean off any excess paint and dry the end of your paintbrush a bit, because in a moment we're going to start adding shapes to our tree, hoping that it's dry enough. Fingers crossed. Yes. But I could have a little have a little nosy at the comments until we sober up. Interesting. I won't let you sober up. We'll keep the drinking game going strong. If you were here last week, you're supposed to be drinking whenever I sound West Country, which is just all the time. So drink in hand at all times.
Looking lovely, Laura.
Thank you, darling.
Is your tree dry? Do you need a little bit of a chit chat whilst we wait, or?
We could have a little bit of a chit chat. I've got some slightly moist edges.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Sure.
Oh. What a funny word, moist edges.
Oh, it's my favourite word. I know some people get really upset about it, but how can a word that can be used to describe cake be bad? I don't know.
Well, that's true. It's used to describe cake and other things. So as we are going to go forward, we're waiting for the tree to dry. Laura will be placing a lot of decorative items on the tree. If you'd like to hold that up, Laura. I'll just split the screen so we can all see that she's holding it. Yes, so the tree is filled with lots of different shapes, lots of different sizes of things, lots of different colours. So do make sure your tree is dry before you place these on. If it is not dry, don't worry, pause our video, come back to it, or get a hairdryer out. It really works to speed up the drying process. With everything that's going on the tree now, obviously Laura's going to follow along with the Klimt piece, but feel free to add any decorative items that you like, stuff that might be personal to you or something that's just a little bit funny. Go for it. You're not limited to this picture. You can do whatever you like. This obviously, Klimt's original was quite symbolic, so it's all up to you and how much of a symbolism painting you would like to produce, but you've got hours to produce this. This video will be there. We've had people come back to our lives and do ones that they've missed. So if you don't finish it whilst Laura is in the time frame, then don't worry and don't panic. How's the tree, Laura?
I think it's pretty much there. Let's crack on, shall we?
Okay, perfect.
So I'm going to be using my medium brush, but if you'd rather do your details in the smaller brush, that is absolutely fine. I just like to slap them on. So I'm going to do most of my details to start with using white paint, because if you use white, it is the best color for covering up anything underneath. Magic. So I'm going to do lots of really rough shapes. Now, Klimt was very inspired by mosaics, according to Google. So lots of his shapes are triangles and kind of squares. You can add lots of circles as well. So I'm just going to use those three basic shapes, and I'm going to add loads of them. A bit like with the swirls, they're going to be very random. They're going to be all sorts of different sizes. So you can do big ones surrounded by smaller ones, some clusters of circles, clusters of squares and triangles, or mix it up a little bit, go crazy. So on the trunk here, I'm going to start with a square. So remember, I'm using my medium brush and just white paint. I'm going to not put much water in it because I want it to be quite thick at this point to cover it up. So we're going to have a square. Going to have another, I'm going to go for a circle, and then a slightly smaller circle. And we're going to keep this really, really random. So triangle, doesn't have to be a perfect triangle, or it could be a diamond. Like we said, you can literally add anything on at this point. I'm pretty sure at an event once I had someone make an emoji tree, which looked really cool. I know, if you just want to do loads and loads of circles and add all the different emotions on there. Don't worry, no one will know that I just gave you that. And I don't think it was copyrighted by the person who did it either, so hopefully. All right, so we're adding squares, or you can make some rectangles as well. Let's don't leave the rectangles out. We're just going back to primary school now. Our basic shapes. And remember, I'm not going to do as many as the original has, because he would have spent weeks, if not months, on this painting. Just keep varying up the shapes and sizes as far as you can. You can venture out into the branches as well, with some tiny triangles and squares and circles and things. But one thing I am going to do to keep it consistent to the original is add lots and lots of dots. So I'm going to keep using my medium brush for now, but you might want to swap to your smaller brush at this point. And in every single swirl, I'm going to just dip my brush into my white paint. And I'm going to do, I'll start on the big one, just dots all the way around. So dot, 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 all the way along the branch as well, until you get to somewhere that you've got room for a bigger shape. And we're just doing all of this in white paint for now. And then we're going to come back to it and add a few bits of colour. So you can do these dots on every single one of your curls if you want. Or if you've got a bit of extra time because you've paused the video and you're coming back to it later, you can add some teeny tiny triangles. Ooh, keep it fancy. But for now, I'm just adding lots and lots of dots. I'm also up on my tiptoes in case you're wondering why I'm turning more and more like a tomato. I wish I hadn't gone for a run this morning. Woo, tired. Right, dot, 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 dot. This is a great exercise for your legs if you want to stand up and do the whole thing on your tippy toes. I tell you what is really interesting to see. I don't know if you've noticed some of them coming in, Annie. When people send us the setups that they've got, taking a picture of how they've set up for this event, because if you could see the one that I've got going on the table right now, it's quite impressive. There is a lot of books piled up in many different piles for many different reasons. So we'd love to see what you've got set up at home. Some people have just made it creative on their dining room table. We've had some people doing almost like a picnic on the living room floor. Very exciting. Some people balancing their canvases all over the place. And also, what are you using as a canvas if you're not using a canvas?
Yes, it's very impressive. I mean, you should see my setup. I've got my laptop on a book, on a box.
Maybe we could share a behind the scenes.
Yeah. We've had some people paint on some jeans as well, and they've sent us a picture. Well, that was really interesting. That was really good.
I love that. I would never ever have thought of painting on a pair of jeans, but that is absolutely genius. I wonder if they're wearing the jeans.
But
Oh, I'm so funny and I don't even know it. Yeah, I wish I could be funny when I tried. I quite often get you should do stand-up, but honestly, if I try and be funny, just no, absolutely not. I'm an accidental comic and an accidental poet, apparently. Okay, so I'm just adding dots and dots and dots and lots of shapes. You can bring it all the way down your trunk if you want. You can add some circles down here. I've neglected the bottom of my trunk. Very sad. We're just going for our basic shapes: triangles, squares, rectangles, circles. But if you want to complicate it up a little bit and put stars and hearts on there, honestly, I'd absolutely love it. I really, really would. So we're doing lots of dots, 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 dots. And I think that's enough of that in the white. So what we're going to do now is start adding some of our extra shapes. So if we take a look at the original that we're working from, there are these interesting shapes that have got little seeing eyes in them. I'll bring them a little bit closer. So it's kind of a, oh, it's backwards on Instagram. That was confusing. A little symbol that looks like an eye. It's very kind of tribal and interesting. So if you want to add some shapes like that, then I'm just going to do some blobs for my background. It's going to be kind of curved at the top and a bit flatter at the bottom, but we're just adding the white for now. So don't worry about making this absolutely perfect. And you can add them in random places all over the place. You might not see them on the camera, but it's basically an oval with a flat bottom is what I've gone for there. But again, just add a blob wherever you want to add a blob. And there we go. I'm just going to do 3. Keep it simple for now. Add as many as you like when you're doing this later on if you've paused the video. But now we're going to keep with our little brush and we're going to start adding some little circular dots while we wait for our white background bits to dry. So on the original, it's in green and red, but you can do whatever colours you fancy. So I'm just going to dip the tip of my brush into the red paint and I'm going to add a few dots just floating above my branch over here. So I've got some red ones there. I'm going to add green ones in between each one, so leave a little space if you want to. You don't have to add these, it's just a little extra decoration. You can add a few wherever you feel like your tree is looking a little bit sparse. That's a fun word to say, sparse. You can just add them around the outside of your swirl or along your branch, just to make it look a little more interesting. The thing about this painting is just adding more and more and more until it looks totally mad with symbols and colours, unless you want to keep it simple. Again, this is your painting. You do you. All right, so I've done red. And now wherever I've done red, I'm going to add a little green blob in the middle. So I'm going to have to mix up a little more green, yellow and blue. Oh, that's gone funny. But I'm just going to add a dot in between each of my red dots. But remember, you can use whatever colour you want. Oh, this looks really Christmassy. Oh, it's like baubles on a Christmas tree. How exciting. I mean, if you want to make your tree of life into a Christmas tree, not one to judge. Be interesting. Cover it in tinsel and baubles and whatever decorations you put on your tree at Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but it kind of feels like Christmas at the moment. I've been at home for so long doing nothing but eating and drinking. I don't know who I am anymore. Not a clue. Oh. Okay. So we're adding dots in between. Everyone's on the concentration game today. All right, I'm going to take a little drink of my gin and tonic to let you catch up there. And just for reference,
You sounded a bit cockney there when you added your last little dot.
Oh, what did I say then?
Can't remember, but it was like adding little dots here.
Add a little dot there. I'm obviously picking up on your accent.
Cheers.
The Londoner in you.
Right.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh gosh, Laura, are you holding that for people yourself?
It's very warm in here.
Fair enough.
I've got a lot of lights on so that everyone can see the painting. I am suffering for my art, literally.
Yeah.
So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start adding a little bit of colour onto some of my white shapes. Not all of them, but you can pick up your little brush now because we're going to fill in some of the circles. You'll see some of them are filled in with a colour and you can leave a little white around the outside. Or you can outline your shape with a different colour. A lot of it is outlined in black. So if you want to use the black, you go crazy. Do it. Oh, yeah. And we're going to have a bit of fun with adding colour to those shapes that are kind of dry at this point. So little brush, little brush. What you want to do is kind of go in the order that you did them, if you can remember. Don't worry if it's not the exact order. And you're just going to colour those in. Ooh. It's a little bit sticky. So if they are quite wet, you might just want to outline them or use a colour that is going to become a little bit lighter as you go. So for this triangle, if I fill it in with my dark blue and just leave a little bit of an edge so that it's automatically outlined in white. Now, if you're using pencils or pens, this is all again about experimenting with what you can layer and what you can't layer. If you coloured it in a little bit light, you might be able to do a darker pattern over the top. Just have a big old play with your colours and your textures. So I'm going to keep with the blue and fill in a few of the shapes randomly all over my tree. And I'm going to outline some of them as well in the dark blue, just to vary it up a little bit. Whoop. You can add a dot in the middle of the circle. We're just going to keep layering and layering with all sorts of different patterns. Or like I said, you could be doing love hearts. You could be adding anything you want to add on there. Keep changing the colours. I'm going to go for red to outline my little square over here, which, because I didn't clean my brush, has gone a little bit purple, and I'm totally okay with that. Okay. You can colour in a triangle. Have a little bit of fun with it. I'm very intrigued to see people's later, to see what happens. I love these. Honestly, the end of the events, when we have all of your pictures coming in on Instagram, it's amazing. I absolutely love seeing them. So don't forget, if you are going to post your picture to Instagram because you are super proud, don't forget to tag us at PopUp Painting, or if you share it in your story at PopUp Painting, you can hashtag PopUp Live, PopUp Painting Live as well, if you're fancy like that. But we love seeing them and we'd love to share them. So don't forget to tag us. Ooh. It does help to concentrate if you stick your tongue out. I learned that one from my dad. And he was an aircraft engineer, so he must know what he's talking about, right? So you can add some different colours as well. Feel free to mix up colours. If you want to do some oranges, you're just going to use yellow and red. Ooh. Some people forget how to mix the colour. Purple, red and blue. And you can do as much or as little as you like. Remember, you can look at this later on YouTube and for 24 hours on our Instagram stories. So do not worry if you find that yours is looking all sorts of sparse at the moment. You've got loads and loads of time to add to it later on. Because I'm going to start adding the final details that I'm going to add very shortly. And this is always one of my favourite bits. It's the random bird hidden in the tree. Yes. Which if I show you, you may not have noticed before, but there he is. Or she. There is the bird. Very cute. But you don't have to add a bird at all. You might want to put something else in the tree. A cat stuck in the tree. I know my cats are always getting stuck in the tree. So I'm going to very simply do this shape in black, first of all. And I'm going to spread it quite thin because I'm going to add a bit of white on top just before we finish. And we have got about 15 minutes left. So if I seem like I'm going a bit fast at this point, don't panic. We just want to get everything in. But you can watch this later, so take it at your own pace. So for this bird, I am going to add a shape that is essentially an oval. And it helps if you add a bit of water into your paint. So I've done a bit of an oval, but I'm going to bring it down long. And one side is going to be longer than the other. So then it makes a little triangle shape. So it's an oval at the top. And then I'm going to make it longer and finish it off in a triangle. So it's longer on one side than the other. I won't say left or right because that gets very confusing when Instagram is backwards. And remember to spread that as thin as you can. That is the basic shape for your bird. And then you just want to add a little bit of a circle poking out the top of your oval. And two little lines for the beak. Ooh. Pressing gently. So I did an oval shape that's longer on one side, so it joins by a triangle at the bottom. Added a tiny little circle at the top that overlaps the oval for his head. And then a tiny little couple of lines for his beak. Spread that as thin as you can. I'm going to try and do the details in white just before we finish, but if there isn't time, you can look at the original on our website. That's the word I'm looking for. popuppainting.com/live. And as you've got the black, you can always add some of the details in black, outline in the circles. You can make the circles black themselves, add a little dot in the middle. Again, this is all about just layering, 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 adding more and more details and texture until you're happy. But again, don't feel like you have to do circles. I won't be offended if you go totally off piste. So there's just a couple of details we want to add before we go, and that is our eyes, and then we'll put a few flowers in the flower beds. So if you have done your white blobs, what I'm going to do is keep it simple, and I'm going to do my eyes in dark blue. And the way I'm going to do this, if you have a look at the original, it's going to be a little line in, a curve, little semicircle, and a line. So it's like 1/2 of an eyeball, just as a little symbolic gesture. And I'm going to do 2 of those in each of my blobs. So I'm going to do a little line, flat line, a little semicircle, and another line. It might be a bit difficult to see on the camera, but as long as you've got some sort of shape that is similar, I'm going to do 2 of them in each blob. So a flat line, a semicircle, and carry on that line. And we're just going to do 2 of those in each of our white blobs if you've added any. And then once you have done, I always manage to leave one of these blobs blank because I forget where I've done the blobs. That's one thing about me. If you've ever been to one of our events in the real world, you'll know I always get to the end and I've forgotten something. It's like spot the missing part. So under each one of these little oval shapes, I'm going to do a tiny little dot in the middle to look like the eyeball. Now, this is just how I have interpreted this, this shape. You'll probably find out if you studied hieroglyphics or something, this has nothing to do with an eyeball. But art is all about interpretation, right? Yeah. We've got our little lines, we've got our little eyeballs. And then you can always outline your shape as well. I'm going to just pick up a bit of red paint and just do an outline of each of my blobs. Ooh. If it all starts to blend together a little bit, no worries. So outlining my blob. I'm shaking now from standing on my tiptoes. I've got to stop that. All right. So I've outlined my final shape. And the last thing I'm going to do for now is just add a few little flowers into my flower beds. Now, the one we've got on the original, they kind of look like little bells. Oh, I'm not very good at flowers, so I couldn't tell you what flower it's meant to be. But these ones are in blue. You can add whatever ones you like. There's also some little star-shaped flowers. Very cute. We got a little blob down here with some more circles, but I'm just going to keep it very simple. So you might just want to add, like when you're drawing some poppies in a field, you can do a big circle of red and then add a blob of white in the middle. That'll make a poppy. Ta-da! That's a very simple way to do it. But if you're pausing the video, you might want to come back to it later and really go for some detail on your flowers. I'm going to add the stars in because I think they're cute. I'm not sure if they were meant to be stars, but they're stars now. Pretty. With a little blob in the middle. And then for the tulip, I'm saying tulips, they're the other way up, aren't they? The bell flowers. It will be a little oval.
Could they be bluebells?
Triangles. Pardon?
Could they be bluebells?
Oh, that would make sense. They are blue and they are bell shaped. Oh, you're a genius. If not, but all right, so I'm going to add a few of those in. You can go, honestly, absolutely crazy with this if you've got all the time in the world. I just want to get as much done as I can before Instagram very rudely kicks me out. Oh, they are bluebells. Well done. Did you work that out yourself, Annie, or did you read the comment?
No, I've done this before. Oh, I'm talking.
Oh, clearly everyone is on the right wavelength and I just have no idea about flowers. I even said blue and bells. This is why I'm rubbish in pub quizzes.
Well, we were doing a corporate event and someone had painted these bluebells and I was like, oh, they look like the ghost emoji.
That's what I was thinking, or the things in Pac-Man.
Yeah. And I was like, that's really clever. And he was like, no, they're bluebells.
You're like, oh, I feel silly now. So I'm going to add some white blobs as well that I can add some little flowers into. I say white. I didn't clean my brush, so it's kind of light blue, but that is fine because this is a very messy kind of thing we got going on here. I'm going to add some red blobs in the middle to be little flowers in the flowers. And that is the very, very basic version of this painting. You can keep adding so much onto your branches and your leaves. As long as you stick to the idea of using lots of these shapes, you can add so many more details, even if it's just dots all over the place that you can see here. Or you've got even more dangling off the top of your branches, little triangles, overlapping shapes, some tiny circles. You can go absolutely mad with this painting and do as much as you like. And we would absolutely love to see them when you do. But the one thing you do really have to do before we finish is sign your painting, because that is what let me try that one again. That is what makes your painting worth all of the money. There we go. I've not even had a full glass of gin and tonic. Thank you. That was quite hard to get out. So I'm going to pop my signature just in this little bottom corner over here. But remember to take your time with this, honestly. I won't mind if you spend another 4 hours on this painting, as long as you show it to me later. Oh, one thing I haven't done, we've got just a few minutes. I'm going to try and add some little details to my bird using my white paint. It might not work because it's not very dry, but I'm just going to add a little circle on his face. It's going to go quite grey because I definitely haven't let this dry. So if you haven't done your bird yet, you leave him to dry, you do it. We're going to do some lines. And then we're going to add patterns in between the lines. Ooh. As many as you can anyway. So his tail is just going to be stripes. Ooh, very thick stripes. Or just 2 stripes, if that's all you've got room for. We're going to add some dots into this section. We can add some more lines into this section, some more dots into this section. You can really make this detailed if you want, some curvy bits, make it look like feathers. Or you can just keep it simple. Or what I'd really love to see is a cat in the tree. If I had time, I would do all the cats, a cat on every branch. That would make me very happy. I am a cat person. Don't tell the dogs, I love them too. All right, so that is the end of the very basic level of painting of this version of Klimt's Tree of Life. If you do have any gold that you can add, we'd love to see that. Someone's already said they've got gold gel pens. I've noticed that in the comment. I noticed the sparkly things in life. But that is all that I need to tell you.
Yes, well done, Laura. Looks great. So that bird that you
Becky.
just painted is supposed to be a blackbird, a Klimt style blackbird.
A Klimt style blackbird.
Yeah.
I've added you into Instagram, Annie.
Oh, yes. Okay. Hopefully we won't get that noise.
Have you tried gilding rather than gold paint? Oh, no, I have not. But that sounds like fun.
We've got a bit of an echo. I suppose that's
Oh, that's me. I'm going to turn myself around.
Grammars, how we all do. Right. We have got to the end. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Laura's done a wonderful job at producing the Klimt's Tree of Life. We should say that this is actually a sort of blown up version, a section of the original, which is quite wide, so it's got 2 figures on either side of it. Not to say that this isn't the original as well, it's just there's 2 different type of versions in print form. So this is just one version, and there's obviously the original as well. There's loads of others, but anyway, thank you for joining us. If you have finished, do at us at PopUp Painting, hashtag PopUp Painting as ever. Do check out our online events. Somebody asked how are they different to the live? Well, firstly, they're not live, they won't be on YouTube. It will also be a fully interactive event, which will be more value for your time because you will spend 2 hours with our lovely team members. We will take you through step by step for roughly around 2 hours. We will be having a lovely online party where we can have some drinks, we'll have a chit chat, you'll meet new people, you can come and join the event with your friends. It will be done via Zoom, and you'll get sent all the details as well prior to the event. So check popuppainting.com / whichever way the arm is, online - parties. I think I've got that right, but just go to popuppainting.com, you'll find it in the menu. I think that's really about it. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Well, see you Wednesday. That's our next live. We are going to redeem ourselves with the London skyline again, so we'll see how that goes.
We just got kicked out of Instagram.
Yeah, I know. We'll just go. We're still here, so
bye.
You might as well. Do you want to close anything, Laura? Do you want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been joining us. It's really, really nice to have so many of you joining us from your living rooms or kitchens, wherever you may be. We've received some really nice messages from you guys.
Yes, and I just want to point out that although we are doing these pop-up painting online parties, we are still doing the lives. It's just that, you know, although pop-up painting has been around for 7 years, we'd still like to be around, so we kind of need to survive through the lockdown. So this is another product and another way that we can give our events to you guys. So do check the website out, and if you can join us, that would be great. So we'll see you then. We'll see you in a private Zoom room, either me and Laura or somebody else on our team, and we're really looking forward to it. And our first one is on the 1st of May, and it's Starry Night. So perhaps we'll see you there. Shall we go?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.